Hi. Before I start to actually talk about whatever it is that I'm gonna talk about today, I wanted to invite you and myself to take a few deep breaths. Settle down in presence, landing, kind of allowing landing if possible. And I noticed that for myself, actually in this moment it's quite hard. Like I noticed that instantly when I push the record button, I somehow, there is this strong pull into landing, while simultaneously a part of me doesn't quite feel safe to allow that, to allow more slowness, to allow me to relax here while recording myself. And instead of trying to force myself into more landing, I'm kind of exploring this tension between the part that is pulled, or the power of gravity of Earth pulling me towards it, into just like inviting me to slow down, to allow being just here, not 1 second forward, not in the past. Although for me, I think what I have realized or found out is that I tend to be a future-oriented being, or that's how my energy seems to habitually work. Is just that it's like always a little bit forward, always in the future. And now while I'm talking, I noticed that there's a bit of kind of more alignment coming between the parts, that the other part that is pulling towards future, that is afraid to allow being more present here, and the part that is being pulled into presence. And while I'm talking and hearing my own voice, more kind of alignment. It feels like the two parts are kind of negotiating, coming into a compromise in alignment, rather than being wide apart and sort of ripping me in the middle, which feels quite uncomfortable. So yeah, what I wanted to talk about today, and like, first of all, my motivation of doing a video right now is that I had this, I've had quite a frustrating cycle this past cycle, and by cycle I personally mean that I put my life and my experience into this container of menstrual cycle. But I do believe that all life is cyclical, and that even if you are a non-menstruating person, cycles are there. But maybe the container or the framework is a bit different. So this specific cycle now has felt more challenging than the ones recently. It's been the things that I have noted, kind of the distortions that I have noted during my time kind of tracking the cyclicality. Things that I don't anymore even think that they can be completely kind of gotten rid of. These kind of challenging behavioral patterns, but they've been easier. There's been kind of ease, and now this cycle, it's felt like they're coming back with kind of intensity that I've had hard time holding. So for example, for me in the peak in the summer of the cycle, that was about a week ago, in the menstrual cycle, that would be ovulation, there's this strong longing, desire for something that I perceive missing. And to me, this kind of pairs with addictive behavior or addicted behavior, and whatever the addiction may be. And maybe I will talk about that in some other point. It's not really the point of the video, but long story short, or coming to end, the motivation of now making a video was that I noticed that there's quite a lot of frustration in me, and like I was sort of exploring like what is the frustration about, and at least for now I got the response from the inner child within me, with whom I was having this dialogue, kind of trying to map like what's going on with her, as as this is one of the ways how I explore my energy, my insights. And I've seen in the past few weeks also, like in my own children, kind of behavior that is more challenging. And I was like, okay, can it be perhaps, may not be, but can it be perhaps that they are reflecting something back to me that my inner child is experiencing, and that maybe I haven't paid much attention to her lately. And maybe it's time to just go and check. And she had a lot of frustration, like kind of like she didn't know what is wrong, what she actually wants. I don't know if you're a parent or you have children in your life, small children, maybe even bigger ones. Maybe you know that there's like these moments where the kid is like, there's a lot of frustration, a lot of like crankiness, and nobody really knows why it is. And even no matter how much you try to dig it, the kid doesn't know what's wrong. Something's wrong. Something's feeling uncomfortable. Something's like, but she doesn't know. And I was like, okay, maybe it's okay to be with like, she's angry, she's frustrated. She has a lot of fire, maybe. And she doesn't know why. or what she wants. And somehow through that little check, there came this kind of like, which is a repetitive thing in my experience, is like, I feel like, and she felt like, her potential is not used. My potential is not used. Like, it's not getting into, like, it's not getting out. It's like I have all this potential inside of me, and it's just like, I cannot get it out. I cannot use it. And then easily I go into kind of like a victim mentality, that it's because people don't see it. It's because people don't give me opportunities, or life doesn't give me opportunities where to use it. Like my current life, like, no, like I just, as a stay-at-home mother, I cannot use it, and it's their fault. It's the world's fault. It's life's fault. It's like, you know, I'm externalizing the blame. And yeah, and then I don't know, I've been meaning to do videos, and I've done videos before, and I've been meaning to do it, and I've been like, kind of like, nah, I don't know, and it's too hard, and there's such a big step to record myself on video, and I was like, fuck it, just let's just try this. So this is the motivation behind recording a video. And yeah, I feel like those two things that I basically already kind of brought in are already a lot, and could be teachings in themselves. So maybe kind of want to bring a little pause and then come to the actual topic that I planned to talk about, which is like, it's about openness. It's about welcomingness to like to kind of come out of this. I have quite this habitual way of like unconsciously or half consciously resisting and rejecting stuff that kind of comes at me from somewhere. That's still a mystery to me and gets to be, and I have no need to solve it where this stuff comes from, but it is clear that I'm kind of a receptor of things. And by things I mean, for example, like thoughts or emotions, or even in more kind of more in the primal, if that's the right word, primal version, like before it becomes an emotion that I name, and before it becomes a thought that, you know, that has words. Thoughts are words. Before that, there's a sensed, felt sense, kind of tasting the words, what would feels like the right way to describe it, but felt sense of something coming and piercing my awareness. Something that is different enough from my current state that I sense a difference. I sense something different coming in. And right now it kind of feels like as if, like I'm kind of like a container of energy, or there are like sort of like boundaries of me, like everything is one energy or one thing. But then there are the boundaries, and I feel like, okay, it's not just my physical body, but it's the energy body. So it's the aura, or however you want to call it, kind of bigger than my physical body. And that's my current energetic state that is somehow formed from the energy of all. And then something comes and kind of gets through these energetic boundaries of mine and comes, and I feel it. And so on some level, I'm aware of it. But oftentimes, especially before, and even still, like a lot of it, this stuff doesn't really come into my consciousness, doesn't really come into my, like, it doesn't reach the level of like conscious mind. And so it would be kind of understood or recognized on the conscious mind level, but it comes, and already before it reaches the mind, some part of me, like maybe nervous system, rejects it or represses it. It decides that no, this ain't, like, no, I don't want that. That cannot come. And now, because I'm on this kind of path of wanting to receive more life, wanting to be open to more life, and to really basically like welcome all of it. That's my intention, is to welcome all of it. And so I've gotten to kind of realize more and more, like maybe on a subtle level, like before stuff comes into my mind to be named or labeled as anything, I already feel it coming. I'm like, I feel something's approaching me, like a wave. Often they feel like waves of something, wave of shame. That's then me naming it. But a wave of something, like before even naming it, wave of something that feels different than the state that I'm currently in. Wave of something sort of foreign, even though it's also made of the same energy. So it's not really foreign, but it's like, it's like it doesn't kind of make sense, I think, in nature. That doesn't maybe happen, but it's like or let's say like, okay, I'm a container of water, and then someone drops oil in it, and it's like it's different. You can kind of see it, and I don't see it necessarily, but I sense it, like something different is trying to, or is entering me. And then there is the process of like unconsciously resisting it, repressing it, rejecting it, kind of like, no. And I feel like I've lived quite a long time in this kind of state of unconscious resisting and rejecting of stuff, of life energy coming at me. And I'm kind of coming into maybe some kind of understanding, like why something like that happens. It's like I have some kind of image, self-image of who I am or who I aspire to be. And this self-image is constructed of different kinds of, like, let's say that my aspiration is to be thinking like, okay, let's say good person. And then, okay, what good person means different things to everybody, right? Of course, maybe we have some cultural sort of, and we do have some cultural collective beliefs what good person is. But I would still think that it's still like individual for each individual. So I have this, like, I want to be a good person. I want to be seen as a good person. I want to be a good person. I am a good person, even. Like, it's not even a want. It's like, I am a good person. This is how I identify. Like, and there are certain, like, kind of what the good person is constructed of, like the pieces. These pieces belong to the good person. And then there are pieces that don't belong into the good person. And if the thing that comes, the wave, if my system kind of is like, this piece doesn't belong in the good person, you know, like building, then before it even reaches like my cognitive understanding, might be that I'm using wrong terms, but excuse me, English is not my first language. So, and anyway, these are so hard to put in language, but before it even like reaches my understanding, before I know it's there, my system has already rejected it. Like, this doesn't belong into this good person that I am. So, like, it cannot come. And thinking if I need to add something to that still before I move on. Yeah, and the thing is that then these not good person pieces start piling somewhere, because they don't disappear. They don't cease to exist. Even my system like rejects them, like, no, that does not, like, that cannot come into my awareness completely. Like, no, that doesn't fit into the good person building, and so it cannot come into my awareness. Unfortunately, those pieces don't disappear. They don't cease to exist. They came and they are there. I just push them into my shadow, into my unconscious. Like, I repress them down, whether they are emotions or beliefs or thoughts that come, something that doesn't fit this building. And then they start piling up, and there starts to build like a pile of these sort of, let's say, okay, the good person thing, the building, like, I'm imagining Jenga tower, if you know the game, like with these wooden sticks that you build this tower of, and then you pull them, but we don't need to pull them now. I'm imagining this kind of tower made of like tiles, and let's say that this one those pieces that fit my self-image, they are like, you know, nice, colorful, maybe bright colors tower. This is me. This is Noora, you know? And then those parts that come in but don't fit that tower, according to my belief system, they get piled like next to it, like in the shadow. And they are like gray or like dark, you know, like kind of black and white, like not so visible. And they get piled there, and they get piled. And so, you know, they're still there. And it starts to become like heavy. Or is heavy the right word? there starts to come this kind of discomfort that something is there, but something big lurks here. And it, I start to feel maybe split, or part of me missing, not whole, somehow not whole. Like I start to feel like big part of me is missing, but I don't really know what. And I'm not really seeing this big pile of things that I've been burying in the shadow, but I just have this kind of vague feeling of flatness, of splitness, not wholeness, incompleteness. Flatness is kind of it starts to become more and more flat the more and more I unconsciously or consciously or half consciously say no to those things that are trying to come to my awareness. So yeah, okay, there is the tower that is made of these colorful bricks, but then soon it's just a very thin facade. It's not even a 3D building. It's just a flat facade, and I feel like some richness, some oomph is missing. And while I've been in this process, kind of becoming more and more inviting, okay, whatever is there, I'm here, it can come, it's allowed. Whatever it is, it's allowed. Because it's I've sort of realized that it's anyway there. It's anyway there. My kind of trying to look the other way won't make that thing disappear. It's still there, and it's not in the end very good for me if I keep trying to look away. My life becomes very narrow and flat and small the longer I'm kind of trying to avoid looking at some things that don't fit my image of myself. No, these kind of thoughts don't belong into this image. These kind of emotions don't belong in this image. They cannot exist. But they are there. It doesn't matter how much I say that they cannot exist. They are there. They're there. And now I'm at a point where I'm where kind of why I'm making this video and why I anyway create anything is that with my creation, with the texts that I write, with the Instagram posts, with the podcast stuff and these recordings, I'm kind of concretizing my own understanding to myself, kind of it's just one way of integrating it, one little piece in the integration process. So I will tell you about basically the exact moment when I kind of got the new depth of understanding in this matter of welcoming stuff. I was sitting in a car, and I guess I was sort of unconsciously or half consciously thinking about some scenario that had happened recently. And I felt a wave coming, and I instantly named it shame. And I noticed how while it was coming, I was immediately pushing back, rejecting it, no. And my justification was that it's not something that I need to feel shameful about. I did nothing wrong. Which might be true, probably. Or not. But the thing is that the wave was already coming. It doesn't matter how much I explain that I shouldn't be feeling it or don't need to be feeling it. It's already coming. So while I noticed that, I was like, okay, let's just like allow it in. Like, what if I don't like instantly like go away? Because often these things also have something to tell. These waves, they come with wisdom and information. And I was kind of like, can I allow it to enter? Then I started to question whether it's shame. Like I super quickly named it shame. This is how shame feels. Like, okay, but how did I decide that that specific thing is shame? And then when something else comes, that's fear. And then when something else comes, that's excitement. Like, are they really different? Or are they just simply waves of energy coming in? And that's maybe a little bit different conversation that I really, really wanted to point out here. So I realized in that moment that why I could not let shame, if this was shame, enter my awareness was because I had a belief that then it will define me. That then I will be ashamed. And I didn't want to be ashamed because it did not fit my current construction of Noora, like who I am. That the who I am, I had decided, does not feel shame about that thing, that specific thing. So the shame is not like allowed here because it doesn't fit this building. No. And then there was this very kind of like freedom feeling in it that I realized that, but this shame doesn't define me, or this energy that comes in, it does not define me. And I don't think that I can put that understanding into words. And as I said, like my motivation of doing these videos is kind of bring that understanding more concrete to myself. And I don't know, hopefully it will give something to you too. But the motivation is quite selfish, I would say. And so I'm just on the brink of understanding, like really like, you know, coming from felt experience, understanding something new. Like that's the feeling. Like I'm there at the edge of like I visited that really briefly, that really like felt lived experience of like the things that come don't define me, and as they don't define me, I can welcome them all. I can welcome everything because it does not change who I am. And I don't really know who I am, but like what it doesn't change the essence. Like it won't change it. So I can just let these waves come and crash into me. They can come and they can crash into me, and I can really like see it coming. I can really be aware of it. Like on my level of the mind, I can like, hello wave, and it comes and I can feel it crashing into me. Like I can really like invite it in. Yeah, so now I'm imagining like I'm a stone at seaside somewhere, and the stone is like aware, which we don't know. Maybe stones are aware. Maybe they have consciousness. That a wave is coming towards, coming closer. It can feel it coming, or it can like see it. I don't see it, as I said, I don't see it, but I feel it's like approaching. It's close enough for me to start feeling that something's approaching me. And instead of like, no, you're not allowed to come here, I like, hello, wave. And I would kind of welcome it, like come into a state of receptiveness instead of like pushing back, but really just welcome it. And wave would crash, and I would really feel its impact on me. And sometimes the waves can be really strong and the impact is more intense, and sometimes they're just like little, and sometimes they come like slowly after each other, and there is a long period of kind of like silence or stillness in between. And sometimes maybe there comes like a lot of stuff, like little waves, but all the time. Yeah, and kind of that like openness is something that tempts me so much, like something that I really desire to expand my capacity to stay open and welcoming to these waves, like that I don't habitually go into rejection, into defense, but that I let it kind of wash through me. And yeah, and then kind of in this state of being, I imagine, and maybe have briefly experienced it, nothing really hurts. Like it's not, the things are not painful when I really open myself to receive whatever it is. Of course, if it's a big wave, then maybe more of openness is needed to actually receive it and let it like wash through me. More openness, more space, more time, because it's like really. And then when they are smaller, then a little bit of like openness, but it's like a new way of being. Because the habitual way of being for me, my nervous system, my mind, is rejection, is resistance towards new, towards something unknown or something new, something that isn't here right now, something new that comes. It's like my habitual way is to resist all of it. And I'm in this play of like experimenting. Is it necessary to reject it? Like, rejection feels, why am I in this play? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just like feel like there is a new level in the game that I know rejection and resistance, and now I want to kind of explore what happens if I'm like really welcoming and open towards anything that tries to enter me. And one big part in that is this, for me also, new thing is that I don't need to name the things. I don't need to explain or justify anything that I sense that is coming. I just sense something, and I let that something come. I receive it. I'm impacted by it. It washes through me. And that's it. Like maybe I can really be in that kind of state of like not knowing. I don't need to know what it was, what birthed it, why it came, even what it's trying to tell me. Maybe I can just trust that, I don't know. For some reason, these waves keep washing through me. And that's actually the feeling that I have right now. It's like, if I let them do that, they kind of like, they purify me. They take with them all the residue that I've been that has been building up inside of me, and just like whoosh, wash it away if I'm in this state of receptivity. And that can be really anything. It can be stuff that the mind labels as like annoying or unacceptable or yeah. I'm thinking the truthfulness of that statement. I just want to kind of check it if it's it's like the mind is the one that decides that this energy form now is welcome and this energy form is not. But in reality, actually, I have noticed that receptivity is like you are either receptive or you're not. So it's not like you can choose to which things you're receptive and to which things you're not. It's just like, or me, I'm talking about me. Okay, let's say I'm talking about myself. I have noticed that I cannot decide. I can only decide to be more or less receptive. And then I have to be receptive to all. And in the end, it's all just same. It's all just the same stuff. I mean, the mind says this is fear, this is love, this is excitement, this is nervousness, this is bad noise, this is good noise, this is bad smell, this is good smell. But if I'm in a certain state of receptivity, it's all just energy to be received and let it kind of wash through me. Like even like really annoying construction site noise on a certain level of like meditation, kind of like mindfulness or receptivity, it's as liberating. Maybe liberating is the word. It's as liberating as any beautiful music. And and I can just receive it and let my like body drink it. And Whew, I feel like that was a lot. Let's see what comes out of this. This was quite fun. Let's see if it's a repetitive exercise or just one-time thing. But let me know what you think about these things that I talked about here and your own experiences about same stuff, if this resonates. And I will see you somewhere sometime. Ciao.